Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TopCyberPro podcast. I'm founder and CEO of TopCyberPro.com, Jim West, and I have another great guest as usual. Every episode seems to be better and better, and this is no exception. So today I have Dr. Yi Mao, who is the CEO of atsec, and one of the things that they do a very important function for cybersecurity and for industry. But I'm going to let her introduce herself, explain a little bit about what they do, their mission and purpose. So without further ado, Dr. Mao.
Thank you very much, Jim, and thank you for having me. I'm excited about this conversation and was really appreciate having this opportunity to share my experience with your podcast audience. I am the CEO of atsec Information Security U.S. branch. Where I am today is actually very grateful to our three founders of the company who established the atsec about 25 years ago. It was beginning of the 2000, and we started the office in Munich. One of our founders saw the picture. Because we have the business with US here, so he brought a team here to Austin, Texas, and established the atsec US in 2003. And since then, we also expanded our company to Stockholm in Sweden, Rome in Italy, and we also have an office in China. So what we do, I think what our company does defines, what I'm doing. So these two things are very closely related. We are the third-party testing evaluation lab that follows international standards or the national standard. For example, common criteria for product-oriented security evaluation. FIPS, it's Federal Information Process Standard, used to be the US standard, but in 2012, it was published as an international standard as well. And after years of using it, maturing it, US, Canada, we have a program called the Crypto Module Validation Program, backported the ISO standard, adopted back for our module validation. So currently we are in the FIPS 140-3.
So I will just kind of add to what she's saying there, because a lot of folks are hearing these numbers maybe for the first time that if you've been watching this podcast, and like FIPS 140-2, FIPS 140-3, it might be completely new language for you, but these are very, very, very important standards for protecting information, especially information that is transmitted, stored, or processed on information systems. So these are like think of like the security major building blocks for all other systems and platforms to leverage these standards. Again, you got to think of like when you build a house, you first put that foundation of the house before you can build anything on top of the house, like the walls, the roof, everything that's on it has to have a solid foundation. And this is where her company tests these different solutions and products for meeting the criteria of these standards. But Doctor, could you maybe further explain why common criteria? Let's start there, because common criteria is a big deal internationally, right? What is common criteria, and why is it important to industry?
Absolutely. I really like your metaphor, using the house as an image, because people know how the house is built and where the foundations and the walls and doors, etc. Right. So the common criteria, as its name indicates, is supposed to be a common criteria for everyone who intend to build secure products. So there's a mutual recognition worldwide. There are 31 countries in that common criteria mutual recognition, where 18 of those countries, and the US is definitely one of them, and France, Germany, those countries are contributing to the development of the common criteria and the use of it for the products that are certified. some other nations. So the 18 out of 31 common criteria mutual recognition members can issue the certificate for the product that is designed according to that standard. I will get to it to give you a gist of what the standard is about. But the basic structure is when a vendor, they design, implement a product, if they want to sell to the federal market, the government market, they need to have a third party. So that is for the objectiveness, for the neutrality, get tested, evaluated, recommended for certification, then the government schemes, the authority, certification body will issue the certificate. So there's 18 nations out of the 31 member nations is qualified for issuing the certificate, where the other 13 nations, they are not at the stage where they can issue the certificate, but they recognize those certificates. They can accept the certified products for use in their nation. So the idea being common is that you evaluate the product in one country and it can be used worldwide, globally. So that represents the saving of the effort and the time for the vendors.
So
Now,
another way, as Dr. Yi is very thoroughly explaining it, another word that people use in like defense and federal spaces is reciprocity. So because these nations have all agreed to common criteria, if it's been tested at one place, it could be used across all others because they're testing to the same common criteria standard. And the beauty of it is a saving of time, because a lot of folks think, well, shouldn't government like NIST and all these other agencies be testing the products for us? They don't have the manpower or the time. So they work on setting the standards by which these laboratories will then third party independently validate and certify to the standard for them, because there's just too many products. There's just too many solutions out there that any government agency by themselves, they don't have the manpower to do it. So it's companies like Dr. Yi's company that is leading that forefront and ensuring that that foundation that we're building systems on is secure. And so I want to kind of jump a bit, because obviously this is very critical yet very demanding work. And so, Dr. Yi, what is something that drives you and motivates you every day? Because I mean, I can see sometimes it feels like it's an ocean of products and things to test. And there's always something new. Like every day, there's more and more products being developed, new emerging technologies. What motivates you and drives you?
Make our world a safer place. To put it, absolutely. There's so many cutting edge new technologies, cloud technology, IoT, post-quantum cryptography nowadays. So the good news is that we are not working alone. We're working alongside with the government standardization body. We're acting as their extended brain and arms. As you said, those organizations may short in resources, and they need to have the third party labs like us to fulfill this role. We are not working alone in the sense that we do the systematic testing based on the standard. It's a standard-based conformance testing. And we do not have to, let's say, come up with ad hoc test cases. Okay, so you do the test, poking here and there with a sheer luck, you are hoping that some result will come along. So common criteria is a set of the standard. It has now the newest version from ISO 2022 that published in August has 5 parts, but the first 1, 2, 3 are fundamental. They are inherited from the earlier version of the common criteria. The product in theory can be evaluated from level 1 to level 7, but it's very, very rare you see the product after level 4. Okay, and when I say common criteria, evaluate once, use everywhere, it is the intent, but the devils are in the details. The agreement is actually no, because it's so difficult to have the agreement among so many member countries. Each country will have maybe different priority, different goal, different emphasize on their national security. So the agreement was on level 2, 1 and level 2. So the basics people can share. When it comes to the NIAP in particular, NIAP take approach that is really want to get to the market fast and not to take actual layer of the time added on. They understand time to the market is essential, and security is always a ever-changing landscape, right? When you have a defeat and someone come with an attack, and you have to keep the ball rolling rather than holding your hand for a year or more than a year to get the product evaluated. When the time it gets out of the hand of the labs, maybe the product is already obsoleted. So time is essential. And what NIAP come up with is they do that protection profile approach and the test-oriented emphasize. So the different type of the product, it can be operating system, mobile device, network device, web application, each different category, you create a protection profile to fit that type of the products. They would form the technical communities that involving the government, the industry, the labs, and academia to define the rules for the projects. So when you consider the security features of the product, you have to think about the data protection, the crypto support, the audit system, and the trusted channel for the communication, privacy, and so on and so forth. So go back to the metaphor you said, like building a house. Our job is really try to make sure that the foundation is sound. Rather than product is out of the door, you discover the weak key, and you're busy with, say, do the risk management, do the vulnerability analysis. The hope is that if the product is designed as required by the standard is established by a rich body of experts, right? You follow all these requirements and you tailor your product to your market, but not losing the security requirements. And hopefully that by the end of doing the testing, evaluation, it goes to users' hands, the risk is minimized.
Mm-hmm. Building upon that house analogy, when someone does an audit or an assessment and accreditation, you got to think of it, that's that point in time. So if we were looking at a time frame from beginning of the test to going to the users, at that point of time, the accreditation is given, like the common criteria or the standard has been tested and has been accredited. That's that one point in time. So the foundation may be secure, but let's say the developer adds a new feature or adds another, adding code or adding new capabilities to a product down the road, you can potentially increase your attack surface or increase the other vulnerabilities that get added later on into the product. So that's something to keep in mind, that when you see a lot of software, they'll come up with cumulative patches, or they'll have a patch schedule, because they will continue discovering vulnerabilities as they make modifications. So you add a feature here, you may be adding 8 to 10 more patches down the road in the life cycle of that product. So just be clear, these laboratories test at one point in time, and it's up for continuous monitoring and other programs to cover the risk of the rest of the life cycle of that. Because not every lab could continually be testing that product, because we have to think of it as a point in time. And so I just want to kind of clarify that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Mao, but that's a very important distinction that folks have to keep up to date with patching of a product post accreditation.
Yeah, very good point. And thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely. When we do the testing, we have to nail down what is the version of the product we are testing, what is the scope, and what is the user guidance we are following. So that is a point of time. Different scheme may have different policies, but when it comes to the US, NIAP, by the way, stands for National Information Assurance Partnership, and they are part of the NSA, the National Security Agent. So their rule is that you can have the maintenance certificate and maintenance after the certificate is issued within 2 years of the time frame. The certificate will still valid, allowing do some level of the maintenance, the patches for addressing the CVE. There's a category about the minor updates versus the major updates, and if vendor do the updates, they need to report to the vendor, to the lab, and make lab be aware of it. We will document if it's a minor or major and what have been changed, to increase the version of the product so that the certificate can be reflected to the newer version of the product. Yeah.
Dr. Mao, I believe you had some information slides you were wanting to share with us.
If you want to plug it in, yeah, I can. I was
Okay.
thinking that I may do it in the end, but absolutely I
Oh,
can.
okay, we can wait till the end. I
Yeah.
do want to talk about something that I'm sure you're tracking in your company. About a week and a half, I think 2 weeks now, NIST published FIPS 203, 204, and 205. And this is now we're entering the new term of post-quantum cryptography. And with these new FIPS standards out there now, what is the time frame for your organization? And has there been discussions amongst everyone about, being able to conduct these tests? Are you able to conduct the tests today, or is there a time frame when your labs will be able to conduct the tests to this new standards?
Yeah, we can do the testing now today. You're on top of all the news. Yes, it is a really very exciting moment, and it can also be terrifying moment.
Yes.
For the information security. As you know that artificial intelligence is on the rising. I think people, one way or the other, have been using or impacted by the large language machine and the AI assistant tools. The quantum computing is on the horizon. So right now, and with AI assistance, we predict that it even come to us much faster, quicker than what we expected before. So the kind of the thread, quantum computing can do both, right? Will make the current asymmetric cryptography obsoleted, but also will help in many, many other domains. We just need to be prepared and be ready. When I say FIPS, I may need to expand it a little bit. So the FIPS and now is ISO standard is the de facto was a US national standard, but it's a de facto international standard for the crypto module validation. Crypto module is where you implement the crypto algorithms and use it to protect your data at rest or data in transit. Nowadays, right, the network is everywhere. And when if I send information to you, Jim, and someone can intercept it. If it include my password, bank account, credential information, then I'm doomed. So very often, it's almost everywhere. The most common practice is you encrypt the communication channel, and the way encrypted, you have to use a key, crypto key, and use algorithms. So for the big data, bulk data communication back and forth for the speed efficiency, the industry use the symmetric algorithms like AES, Advanced Encryption Standard. But in order to use AES, you and me have to agree on a secret key that I can decrypt it. I can encrypt and you can decrypt it with the same key. But to have this key agreed can be a problem because, you and me, if we can meet in a coffee shop, I can write down my secret on a piece of the paper, then you get it. But that's not how the e-commerce works now. Everyone is everywhere. We don't really can have the physical way to exchange that. So there's asymmetric algorithms. The asymmetric algorithms that is to have either transport the keys that I create and give it to you, like ISA key transport algorithm, or we can contribute to the final result of the shared secret. So it's called a key agreement, like Diffie-Hellman key agreement. There's all different flavors. Mm-hmm. So the asymmetric algorithm that are in danger with, if the quantum computer became a reality, there's a Shaw's algorithm, a mathematician who discovered that if the quantum computing, it just based on the features, characteristics of the quantum computing, what they can do, and he came up with the algorithm. So all the asymmetric algorithms will be broken. And the next new set of the standard FIPS 202, 203, 204 is to have the quantum safe. It's called the post-quantum cryptography. Even with the quantum computing, they cannot be broken. So this set of key encapsulation digital signature signing, digital signature verification is based on different mathematical principles. They are lattice-based math, so they resist to Shaw's algorithm.
So another thing I've often spoke to people and students and people I've mentored and coached when it comes to cryptography, there's a couple of key things. Back in the early, like 10, 15 years ago, everybody was focused on key strength, which is a very important component of an algorithm. But ultimately, the number one thing with any algorithm is entropy and the randomness of the algorithm. And it's conceptually mathematics. Generally speaking, math is supposed to be 1 + 1 = 2, right? Very logical, the same answer every time. But with a cryptographic algorithm, we have to produce a pair of numbers that are just almost like pulled out of a random ocean of numbers. And so for that to appear random and to be as large of an ocean or pool of keys as possible is very complex math at play. So when Dr. Mao mentions we have now lattice-based algorithms, it's using an approach to the mathematics of the algorithm that makes it harder for someone to kind of defeat that space of keys. So it's creating a much phenomenally larger potential pool key. So it's raising that standard of entropy or randomness in the equation. So that's really the most important component of an algorithm to protect information. The general rule of thumb for a system to defeat by brute force is usually to exhaust half the key space, which is 1, the randomness, but 2, time, the compute time. And so just for anyone watching and hearing about this, quantum computers run on qubits. And the general math, there's actually a more fine number than what I'm about to say, but the general math is each qubit gives about 300 years of traditional compute time. So that's 300 years per qubits. And IBM recently, I think, announced publicly it was 1064 qubits that they have aligned in a quantum computer, which they have plans to go up to 10,000 qubits and 100,000 qubits. And there's other agencies and research institutions that are achieving 1,000+ qubits today. And so just imagine a year from now, we will probably hit 10,000 qubits and so on and so forth. But with each qubit, on average, is about 300 years. So if you're adding this many qubits, think about shortening that time for a brute force. Then you introduce the power, the exponential power of these quantum computers with an AI, which Mo Gadot from Google, former Google Gazette, had been on record of saying that currently ChatGPT is at approximately 155 IQ, which Albert Einstein was widely accepted at being at 160 to 190 IQ. So if AI is already approaching Einstein levels of IQ, a year from today, it will be beyond Einstein. And so combining that with quantum computing, it's just mind-blowing what it could do. So having these new standards, especially when NIST has put out these new standards, and there's currently, 3 new crypto algorithms in the standards list. There's AES 256, and I believe Shaw is still in there. You can correct me, Dr. Mao. I believe Shaw is still there. Shaw 512.
So the new set is not about AES and SHA. They are about the asymmetric cryptography to protect the key transport. So there's a key generation algorithm and the digital signature generation and the digital signature verification. Yes. Yeah, so that I can show you a few slides where you actually get all the details. Yes. So you're absolutely right. The random data generation is fundamental because the algorithms nowadays are public, okay? And that is what the security should be. Security by obfuscation is not going to work. The algorithms should be proved or disproved by all the brightest mind of the world, and mathematicians, cryptography, everyone can look at it, can analyze it. If there's weakness, propose something new. The secret is really in the key. Okay, and the keys are generated by the random numbers. It still will be the case even for the quantum computing era. And the quantum computers can also, provide the new ways of generating the random numbers. And that is actually the benefit of having the quantum computing. So the new published standard is not going to replace the random number generator. You still need it, but it is to protect when you have output for the random number generator, use this key. How can I transport that key from me to you? Not using the classical ISA or Diffie-Hellman, which are susceptible for the Shell's algorithm, okay, but a new set of the algorithms. And the NIST, they also have a set of the standard address the random number generator, what your entropy source should be. And NIST is doing a fantastic job of laying out all the foundations, have the building blocks connect to each other, from the beginning to the end, and make sure that our security is being taken care of.
Excellent. So I want to take a pause and kind of, if we had a time machine and we could just go back in time to the very first day that yourself decided that being in security and doing this kind of work and research, what was that first day one like for you? And if you wouldn't mind sharing that story.
Yeah. Well, I would be very glad to share, but may not be as you expected. There's no clear definition when is my first day starting doing the cybersecurity. I think it's a gradual process, and life is a chain of events, with or without our intent, and sometimes with surprising, in a way that is nice surprises, twist and turns. So I come to US a while ago to study mathematical logic and related field at UT Austin. Is actually in the philosophy department, not straight into the computer science. So the UT Austin have a very strong program. It's interdisciplinary. They call it cognitive science. And the professors there are philosophies, linguistics, computer science, mathematics, neuroscience, psychologist. So the idea is, as it says, cognitive science. It's a very broad area to understand how we reason, how we think, and how that analysis can be mimicked by the machine. So nowadays, it's there's many different branches, right? But the one that shows very successful nowadays is machine learning and this branch of the artificial intelligence. So I came. My background is in mathematics and logic, so I studied the set theory, proof theory, model theory, recursion theory, complexity theory. The closest person that always as a role model, I think nowadays people have that Turing Award or Turing Program or Turing Scholars. Yes, it's Alan Turing. So I followed my professor, Nicholas Escher. He is absolutely influential and set a very good foundation for my academic study. He himself knows many languages, and he is interested of using this logic to analyze the natural language, the logic of conversation. When we have this conversation, right? If I bring in, it's raining, and you may wonder why in the middle of our interview you called and how it's related. So he have a whole bunch of the theory. Okay, so conversation is like a game and it's ongoing and so on and so forth. Use the logic to represent the structure. And now it's actually used in the natural language processing. Okay, and in many areas. Right. So I have this, and my dissertation was on common sense entailment in the generic sentences. When you say birds fly, but penguins are birds and the penguins do not fly, how can you put this information together? They are not contradictory, but they are not arbitrary. And many of our common sense entailment is actually like our belief system is built with a constant revision of the things we believe, and in face of the new information, what you try to give up, what you try to maintain, still your belief system is consistent. And there's a logic, there's randomness, there's also a logic behind. So by doing that, I said, I don't want to just know by theory. I really want to get my hands dirty, be able to design and implement a computer system that can represent our theory. So I crossed the street at the UT Austin, was a very nice computer science department, and the philosophy department was just across the street, Speedway. And also at my PhD community PhD committee, I have professors from computer science, and they are super knowledgeable. So I spent 3 semesters there and learn all the master courses for the computer science, so that I know, okay, operating system, compiler, programming languages, networking, security, and so on and so forth. So it broadened my spectrum. The end of the 2000, when the job market, we just don't need to really go out, ask for a job, and the people put the job into our hands, say, would you like to take it on? So one particular, again, I think I'm very lucky that I always meet the great people that give me the directions, give me the influence to know finally where I am. There's a research header from Schoenberg, and his name, Dr. Bertrand du Castel. When I mentioned to him, my heart pounding because he's no longer with us, and we dearly, dearly miss him. I would say that he is the most academic person in the industry world. The interview with me was so unexpected. No question on the programming languages, on the computer architecture. We have a very insightful discussion about the language and the structure of the language, natural language processing, artificial intelligence. He is very much interested in that. He himself is a linguistics as well, and he used to take the class from Chomsky. If you heard about Chomsky universal grammar and the Montague grammar and all of the recent computational linguistics, that branch was built upon their work. Yes, so by this one conversation, he basically said, would you like to work with me? And it strikes me, he say, work with me rather than work for me. And that is kind of the job. It's really, I feel like, yeah, yes. Okay, and his research team is on the smart cards, the smart car industry.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was spin-off from Schoenberg. His research team hold the patent for the world's first Java car applet and have been selling billions every year. And their team shrink down the Java Java runtime environment on a smart car, very, very small footprint. Yes. So from there, smart car used widely in many the banking card, transportation card, GSM SIM card, passport, yeah, you name it. So the data encryption plays a vital role. I start to learn, okay, back then was a triple DES. Now triple DES already sunset end of last year, 2023. SHA algorithm, and the AES and RSA, and you name it. It's really a process of self-study and the training on the job. So back to your question, I would say that there's really no day one when I realized I'm in the information security, but still, even now, have been working with atsec for 18 years. We do all the testing for the information security. I'm still very much connected to the machine learning natural language processing. In July, NIST has a workshop for using the formal methods in the certification program. And I was there. I was so thrilled with the world-class mathematicians and the formal method experts. People find, oh, it's surprising you also have background in the formal method. Use the theorem prover or use a model checking to make sure that the program does what is intended to do. Yeah, so I often say that you may not do what you love, but eventually you will love what you do.
I like that.
Okay, everything end up with you do what you love. So it's a cycle. Everything gets really connected. I would say don't be too restrictive. Say this is what I trained for, or this is not my area, my strength. I think with the passion to learn and with the people, good people around you to guide you, everything is possible.
I love that story. Actually, there was so many facets of it that I just want to kind of come back to. You know, early on you mentioned philosophy and studying studies in philosophy, and it reminded me of Plato's The Republic. There's a passage in it that talks about when philosophers become kings. And I love that ideal that, you know, instead of politicians, because this is an election year and in America we're going to be all divided, but I love that idea that, you know, back in the 40s, 50s, 30s, politicians were like lawyers, doctors, scientists. We had super educated people that were our leaders, our presidents, our senators. Nowadays, politics is its own career field, and some parts of me disagrees with that. But I love that idea when philosophers become kings. So I love that you did some philosophy studies. I love your mathematics background. You know, I love when we see certain films that will honor mathematics and science in the proper way without trying to be too, you know, fantasy related. But like The Arrival, they brought in a linguist, a person that spoke multiple languages, to try to communicate with the aliens. And then in other films, they talk about mathematics being the universal language to communicate with all species. And I love that ideal. So I love that you have a super solid, amazing background at mathematics. And I love that you mentioned a lot of your professors and other colleagues and peers that influenced you throughout your career. You know, anyone watching this is just another story about how Dr. Mao got into her career, and she, you know, had a lot of people influence her. If you're watching this video, your instructors, if you're taking a college courses, if you're doing online study, watching a YouTuber or anybody on social media that you follow, they can help give you that information, because that's all really what a career is about. It's just, you know, absorbing information, deciding, do I want to keep this information and moving on, or do I throw it away and then shape that into what I now call my knowledge base. And I think that's a beautiful thing. We each get to go and absorb what we get to choose what knowledge we absorb, and we get to see how we implement it or use that perspective or lens that knowledge gives us to help solve problems or to advance our career or help secure our organization. So I love that your story has just kind of, maybe your whole life has been your day one. And I like that a lot has influenced that. With that being said, if anyone watching this now would be like looking for advice or guidance, like, is there any websites you read news on, publications, or get news of industry? Could you maybe recommend anything that you stay on top of current trends?
Yeah, I get to that, but I still want to link back to what you said, philosophy and argument. I want to say that yes, technology in the end is really for the humanity. I'm always for that. We don't be blinded by only the advancement of the technology. You have to think how the technology can be used in the good way to improve the quality of our life, the health and happiness. And the
Yes.
technology is neutral, can always be used by bad guy as well. And that will be a bad thing if you help to advance the technology for the, let's say, personal monetary gain. So philosophy, I think, in a way that running in the back end for the goodness of the humanity is really a very valuable
Love
thing.
it.
The other thing is about the math, the mathematics, the argument. That's why I love the logic. In our company, there's no rank. Say, oh, you are the CEO, you are the manager, or whatever you says we need to follow. That is the correct thing. We we discourage that. Okay, for us, what's important is open discussion. Show your reason, show your rationale. You have always different opinions, new ideas, new approaches are welcome. But let's look at our premises, what we have, and what the steps you propose get to the conclusion, the aim, the target that we want to reach. And that is the logic. So we absolutely promote the use of the logic, the rationale, the reasoning, the argument.
Love that.
Regarding regarding what the sources that people can look at, we atsec is actually very much community mindful company. We always want not us running running fast. We have a slogan say, if you wanna go fast, go alone. If you wanna go far, go together. So the togetherness is what we are aiming for, right? It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's ever-ending effort. So we training our people, and we also training industry. So we created two things which we think is very good, and we are proud of it, and we keep doing it. So one is the every year International Crypto Module Conference. We started back in 2013, and that is a platform to bring the government, the academia, the industry, the labs, developers, practitioners together, have a common platform space to discuss about the crypto algorithms, how to build the module, use those algorithms, how you protect the key, and so on and so forth. So the upcoming one is in about 2 weeks, September 18 to 20 in San Jose, in the Bay Area. This is the first time we rotate from US and Canada, and most of the time is East Coast because it's easy for the NIST people to join. So we have been doing multiple times in the DC area, in Ottawa, but this is the first time we bring it to close to industry, right? Close to where companies, vendors
So this is going to be a big one if you got more industry participation. I love it.
Absolutely. So I would really encourage people, if you want to see and get to the updated the news, see what's happening there, go for this conference. And I will show the slides afterwards and give people a feel of it. Then the other thing, conference is just one time, 3 days, right? Maximum or 4 days. And then people go back home, and we want to have a sustainable platform that can carry on the interesting ideas ignited at the conference, from the discussions, and maybe have a follow-up on that. So right after our creation of the ICMC conference, we also started a crypto user forum platform. But we made a major big improvement in 2020 because because of the COVID, and many people rely on the online platform. So we made a big jump. And now has been about 4 years, and we have more than 800 members.
Nice.
We have, yes, and it's for nonprofit. We put in lots of time and effort to team up with other labs, other vendors, and the NIST people are often there, give their policy pitch. So it's free to join. The website is cmuf.org, and I can also show you that as well. So I would encourage people, yes, participate with no cost, and you get lots of resource information there. The other place is NIST website. They have rich set of the standards, beside the ones that we already mentioned, the FIPS 202, 203, 204, FIPS 140-3, there's other algorithm standard, the specification for the approved algorithms, like say AES and the SHA you mentioned, K-derivation function, DRBG, the deterministic random number generator, or the entropy requirement. So that is 890 serial, 90A, B, C. A and B are published, the C is still in draft. But that is a very good set of resources if people are getting into the cryptography or security in general. And the good thing is the NIST standards are free of charge, and it's really wonderful to have.
Excellent. So I like to take a moment to do what I call my speed round with everyone that I interview. And I ask these questions. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just for fun and levity. So if you're ready, I'm just going to hit you with a couple of fast fire questions. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. First one up, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek. I actually like Stargate. There's a character Data in the Stargate, and I love it.
Yeah, Stargate's a great one. Cake or pie?
Cake, we often say piece of cake, right? But
Piece of
easy
cake.
as pie is also a slogan.
That's they're both valid. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
I would say that if you look at the abstract level, a hot dog is a sandwich. In the Chinese translation for sandwich, we have we basically say 3 layers of the things.
Oh, it has to
Okay,
be a
so
3
that's the number
layers.
3. So hot dog is 3 layers, top, bottom, the same bread, and in the middle you can insert anything, right? You can't
Okay.
be the hot dog.
I like that. I like that approach to it. Is there a favorite book that you've read recently, or what is your favorite book of all time?
Yeah, I have many favorite books. In general, I like biographies, like
Okay.
people's life, their accomplishment. So I have some examples here. For example, the novel Da Vinci.
Vinci. Okay.
So I like those. But if you ask me just the one book, I would recommend. So I would recommend this one, The Art of the More, and How Mathematics Created a Civilization.
I
So
love
that
it.
is really, I like math, and in any occasion, I would encourage everyone to learn math from little baby and all the way to
Yes. You have to
every,
start super young.
yeah.
So in another career, I'm an author, I'm a published author, and I have this book series. It's a fantasy series that's focused on 5th to 8th graders, but it's to inspire them to study the STEM subjects, particularly mathematics. And in my story, I have ancient Greek mathematicians who are wizards in my story, and my Gandalf or my main wizard is Archimedes, which is the father of pre-calculus, mostly heralded by most mathematicians as the greatest mathematician of all time. But I have Archimedes as one of my main characters. I have another character, wizard Pythagoras, who covers a lot more geometry. But yeah, I use deities, Demetrius. These are all figures from ancient Greece. That story has helped so many kids go from C level or failing to honor roll students because it helps them see math differently. And that's really what I hope that more children get into mathematics, because not all kids are going to be TikTok famous or NBA players or professional musicians or rock stars, but mathematics works in any career field. If you're a professional football player, the estimation is such a huge skill for any industry. So if you're a football player, the throwing the ball or being able to realize what's happening, that's estimation. Those are mathematical things that you're doing in your brain. If you're a musician, frequency of notes and those rhythms, that's mathematics. Every industry has to deal with mathematics in one way or the other, whether you realize it or not. So I love that mathematics should be something that all parents should instill into their young children at a super early age, because it's disheartening when kids get to, I'm never going to use that when I get older. And they might be right. Like, for example, I can't think of how many times as an adult the Pythagorean theorem has come to my rescue, but that's not the point of mathematics. The point of mathematics is learning there is a more efficient way to solve a problem. And that's really what mathematics, one of the tenets that I believe mathematics is that there's a more efficient way to do something. And so that's where math comes in. It helps us do something more efficiently or more accurately. And as I said earlier, estimation is everything. So if you can use a theorem, a formula, or an algorithm to help you achieve a result faster than you could doing it the long way around, there's where mathematics saves the day.
Yeah, totally agree. And I want to echo on it. We may not use a differential equation every day, but it is a thinking of the math. It's a method of learning the math. We use it every day.
Yes.
And from the math, if we exercise it, we actually very good for abstraction. And our abstraction is very important because we are in a very noisy world. The ability and the capability to fill out the noises and get to the point of it. That is very, very essential. I'm not using math every day, but I'm also using the math every day in the sense that I need to prioritize my task. What is the most important thing? And what is a fundamental thing that other things are depending on it? If you get that resolved, and then the rest of the problem can be resolved.
Yep.
So that is building math. You start from axiom, the minimum basics, the minimum fundamentals. Then you can derive many things, your lemma, your theory, your conclusion from there. So with that, I think the math training is fundamental.
Yes. Did you have some slides that you wanted to share?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so then now may be the time. Yes, so we will not disrupt our conversation. So basically, a refresh of what we discussed. Okay, so let me see if I can share the slides. Where is the share?
So all the links that Dr. Mao was mentioning, I will make sure they're in the description below. So don't worry about having to try to Google it. I will make sure they're in the description. So,
Okay, that's
all
good.
right.
So yes, let me see. Can you see this slide? This is our company, atsec Information Security, and we have 3 founders. We just, one of the culture
I love the picture.
is make fun of it, right? They are
love
not
it.
really generals, but they are heroes for us.
Yes.
The reason we are here for this company because they created about 25 years ago. So in the middle is our founding CEO, and who is still guiding me every day. It's all a picture, and at the left is Stefan Person. He was our CTO, technology officer, and also the financial officer as well. On the right is our chief scientist, Helmut Kuss, and he's actually well known in the information security arena. So there are 3 information security veterans, and they are so passionate and create the company with 4 wonderful principles. We know the business, stay focused, act with integrity, and be independent. And those are the principles we cherish, and we keep going with upholding these principles. So those are our services we provide. I'm not going to take time to read it through. So the top 2 is common criteria, and the FIPS, we also do the algorithm testing and entropy analysis and so on and so forth. This is a new website. One thing I do want to mention is that if you go to our Medium, there's lots of the clips we make. It's educational, it's fun, because the crypto topic can be very dry, just like learning the math crypto. We don't want to scare people away. It's not black and white. There's lots of interesting things that you can come up with. So you can check out our Medium, and our clip are very welcomed at the ICMC. We are making one for the post-quantum cryptography this year, and will be reviewed at the ICMC. So the next one is a little bit of history and where we are. We are in Europe, US, and Asia, and how many certificates we have accomplished. Our latest addition is the medical device certification.
Much needed.
Yeah. IEEE, and we also do a lot of the PCI, payment card industry. So this is my advisor, Nicholas Escher. He's actually now the in France leading one of the 4 largest France AI lab. And that is his books and the papers. So the book, like lexicon meaning in context, web of words and logical of conversation, and all of those theories are built into now the large language model. You don't see it. It's a wealth collection of all the collective intellects. Yeah. So his theory was built upon an earlier work by Hans Kemp from discourse to logic. Okay, so there's a really logic behind our conversation. And the author, one of the co-authors, Hans Kemp, in April, he won an award which is considered as a Nobel Prize of the philosophy. I had the honor to meet him and have a conversation and studied his book during my school years. Another influential people what I want to mention from computer science. I studied computer science, and Alan Emerson, he won the Turing Award in 2007 for his model checking work. And he has an interview, which is very interesting if people, have time, check it out. So he gave all the lectures in the evenings, And I'm a night person. I often thoroughly enjoyed the conversation even after his evening lecture time. So one of the advice he gave to me, which is so profound and influential, and I always look back and it's playing in my head over and over again. He says that mathematics is super important, but it's thousands of years old. You have to find the place that can apply the mathematics. That will make you stand out and see the result that other people have not seen it before. So I would say that learning math is fundamental, but still think about how to apply the math to solve the problems. That is even more important. Okay, and here's Dr. Bertrand du Castel. We donated to the University of Concordia, where the campus is where we worked before. And for the university to have a scholarship under his name to encourage a student studying math and STEM. Yeah, yeah. This is the next set of the standard. So now you get the name. It's called modular lattice-based key encapsulation mechanisms, and then modular lattice-based digital signature standard. And the other one is stateless hash-based digital signature standard. So they're about the key encapsulation and the digital signature. Okay, so these are the latest one, just published August 13th. The use of it, then the NIAP NSA, after the adoption of the post-quantum cryptography, the timeline for change, for transitioning to the new set of the standard. And you will see that by 2030, that is the solid date. And in between, there's a preparation, adoption. So those dates are important.
Dr. Mao, if I could just inject just for people watching this timeline, this is a proposed timeline as of today. With any kind of threats or evolving threat landscape, if there is an advent of, let's say, in the next 2 to 3 years, we have what would be industry would claim would be a quantum supercomputer, which we don't know what, no one has yet determined what that metric is or what the bar by which would qualify a system as a quantum supercomputer, or if they'll even use the word supercomputer in addressing that new level of processing power, like kind of what they do with the top 500 classical supercomputers. We don't know what the terminology, they may come up with new terms, but with the advent of quantum computing, this could disrupt this timeline. I mean, do I perceive that the CNSA has put together what I believe is a very conservative and with all inputs considered timeline? I do, but we have to keep in mind that every day with more and more advancements and more cloud computing resources putting into these AI systems, I mean, we're beginning to see a few studies come out about the environmental impact of all of the power and electricity, because AI systems, they use a lot of compute time, they use a lot of energy to do the functions that they do, and every day there's hundreds and hundreds of more AI systems or more learning LLMs being stood up, and that's just more processing time in all these platforms that are utilizing. But I would caution anyone that when you see a date like 2030, you think, oh, that's 6 years down the road, I don't got to worry about it today. I would implore people to at least get educated on all the documentation with NIST post-quantum cryptography on their website, follow things on atsec to start getting in the know of where we are at today and start being prepared, because what may happen down the road in less than 2030, we may see a quantum computer that is developed outside of a trusted laboratory where it is causing havoc with certain things like digital signing or other symmetric keys, asymmetric keys. And so with that being said, if they are quantum computing relevant attacks within the next 3 years, that means your plan to wait till 2030 for implementation is out the window. So at a minimum, I encourage any cybersecurity professional, just be educated. At least read the documentation, watch the videos, be educated, so that when your stakeholders and leadership comes to you for your recommendations and opinion, you're at least somewhat educated. It's better to be, what's the phrase? They say it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So before these attacks start to emerge, which could be much sooner than 2030, I advocate for everyone to at least be educated on the technology, educated on what are the easiest ways or practical ways to implement these new algorithms. At a minimum, be educated.
Yeah, excellent point. Absolutely. This is the deadline, all the line leading to it as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, as
Yes.
as diligent as you can be, I would say. Yeah.
Yes.
And many attackers, their strategy is save now, decrypt later. So right now, the quantum computing is not for the practical use yet, but they can harvest all the data and save it. When the quantum computing is a reality, they can decrypt.
So the pause, Dr. Mao, again, what you just said there is powerful. Since 2016, I've been putting out a presentation called The Real Threat of Quantum Computing, and I've spoken at a lot of conferences around the world, and one of my slides deals with just what she said. When you encrypt something, it's ciphertext, and whether you send it, whatever means you send it, it can be potentially intercepted. Now, the reason why we have cryptography is so that you can't read what's the real message. But that doesn't mean that institutions, organizations, or nation states couldn't be sitting on petabytes upon petabytes of just ciphertext data, knowing the source it came from, because that's at least the reason why they're collecting it in the first place. They're just not going to collect everything on the internet. There's not enough storage space in the world or enough materials to make that many hard drives and SSDs. But the point I'm trying to make is, if they knew, for example, that they were receiving ciphertext from, let's say, the CIA or the FBI or the NSA, they would just be sitting on just all this data, waiting for the day they would have a system that could decrypt it. So, the idea of that we're in a race condition, right? That date is a deadline, right? So as soon as an organization can, implement and transition into these more secure algorithms, it's imperative that you don't wait till the deadline. Because as I said already, we may have relevant threats against it now. And you may also want to consider what kind of information and data your organization or company is sending across the internet to partners or to customers, et cetera. Because again, being more mindful of your information crown jewels is still basic security practices that you should be reviewing on a regular basis. So sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Mao, but I felt that was really important.
That's excellent points. Excellent points. Yeah. I think that's it. And thank you very much.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Dr. Mao, I know that your time is extremely valuable, but I did want to just give an opportunity for you to, I know we talked a lot about atsec and the wonderful work you do and your mathematics background. I'm just, trust me, I'm a fan. I love anyone that has really gone after mathematics, because it's another way of speaking, but not everybody can immediately get it, right? And for the few people that are fortunate enough that they dedicated enough time to understand it and know how it applies to our world, I have much respect. And so, but with all the great work you do in your day job, is there any like personal projects or maybe a blog or maybe nonprofit work you do, volunteer work that you would like to highlight?
Yeah, so we make donations to universities and have the scholarship. The one we mentioned, the Concordia University, we also do the donations to UT Austin Computer Science, especially their tutoring program. And we make donations back to my university in China, Peking University, and we will keep doing it. We really want to encourage the students have opportunity to learn and can get into the career that they would enjoy and build a lifetime career from there.
I love that. I always tell anyone watching, when you get into cybersecurity IT, just be a perpetual student. You may reach a point in your career where you're a subject matter expert, but there's more subjects to be experts in. And I tell people, be a multi-domain expert, but understand that every day there's new technologies, there's new vulnerabilities, there's new threats, there's new things to learn. And even if it's not IT cyber, even if you want to take a course, a night course in philosophy, it will only expand your perspective and your mind so that you can see more possible solutions. Learn to play piano, an instrument. Life isn't just about, okay, I'm in IT cyber, I'm only going to learn IT cyber stuff. Grow yourself both spiritually and mentally, and it will be the most rewarding thing you ever do, to be a perpetual student in your career. To kind of wrap up, and I know we could talk for a whole nother hour about these subjects, because I'm very passionate about cryptography and security. But if people wanted to follow you, Dr. Mao, do you have like a Twitter, Facebook, or do you prefer LinkedIn for people to follow you and the great work you do?
Yeah, you can look me up on the LinkedIn. I normally don't actually spend much time on the LinkedIn, but we are recruiting. We welcome people with a math background and the programming skills. The security crypto, we can train you, but the fundamental building blocks, we expect you to get from your college education.
Wonderful. Well, Dr. Mao, thank you so much for your time. I know it's very valuable. And again, thank you for the work that you and your company, as well as the other offices for atsec, do on a daily basis to keep networks and information systems secure. Again, my hat's off to you, the most respect. So, and again, consider this an open invitation. Anytime you'd like to come back on the podcast, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Have a good day.